Welcome to Step by Step SaaS Training Institute. Today, I would like to discuss on the demographics domain. So demographics domain is part of the special purpose domains. So SDTM IG has been classified into several classifications. In that, one of the main and important classification is special purpose domains. In the special purpose domains, one of the domain is demographics, and also in this classification in the special purpose domains we have comments, subject elements, subject visits. Understanding of the demographics domain is very important because the variables we used in the demographics domain we use in different other domains for various calculation purposes. I can say demographics domain is a parent domain and it includes all the subject related information. Typically, it contains like a subject age, sex, race, ethnicity, and birth date, and subject sex also. So we will see one by one and variable wise. So before going to that classification, before going into the variable wise, we will see what is the structure of this demographics domain. So the structure of this demographics domain is one record per subject. For example, in a study SDTM level, the demographics data set observations, if it is 100, means in the study 100 subjects participated. And another thing is we represent demographics domain with two letter alphabets, means like DM. So if you are seeing the standard like SDTM IG, SDTM datasets, if you come across DM means demographics. And if you see here, this this table, or I can say the cells, it has various columns. Like first column represents variable name, second one is a variable label, and the type of the variable means that variable values might be in the character type or numeric type. And what is the control terminology? What is the actually the control terminology is the values for particular variables are limited or predefined. These are called control terminology. Next, we have another column, role. Role, again in this role category, how this variable plays an important role in particular domain. So this role variable has been classified into identifier variables and topic variables, timing variables, qualifier variables, and rule variables. Again, there are multiple types of subclassification present in the qualifier variables. When the situation comes, I will explain on that. But it is very important to know the what is the role of the particular variable. And in this demographics domain, topic variable is subject ID, and this might be the one of the interview question also. Next is CDISC nodes. You can see in the sixth column as a CDISC nodes. So in the CDISC nodes, CDISC stand for Clinical Data Interchange Standards Consortium. So it it has provided some details of the variable. So what type of details? Like it might be explained how this variable can be used, or what is the description of that particular variable. What is actually or exactly that variable. And the next thing is we can see the core column. The core column, again this core category, it has divided into three types: required, expected, and permissible. So what is this classification meaning is this category demands or tells the requirement of particular variable in that domain. It might be demographics domain, it might be adverse event domain, or exposure domain. And whatever you are seeing a typical 7 rows column here, you may see in a similar manner when you see the specification. So usually to make the data set programmatically, we refer the specifications. Specification is nothing but it is prepared in a Excel sheet, and that Excel sheet contains different tabs, and in the particular tab called DM or demographics column, we can see the information how to derive the variables individually. So that is also one of the interview question, like how the specification looks like. So we can say you can keep like this the same standard, and I'm going to discuss on the specification how it looks in the coming classes. First we will see about the variables which is present in the demographics domain. So demographics domain first variable is study ID. So particularly if we are working on particular study called ABC 123, we can see that is a study ID. And if you see, this is a character variable and it is a identifier variable. So by this, we can identify the study which ID, and this is the required variable. Means if this variable should present in the SDTM demographics domain and the value should not be missing for all the observations. Next variable is domain. So usually in the SDTM level, the variable names are two letters alphabetical character. Some exceptional cases are there, but for the demographics, we have demographics DM. And if you see the text, two characters abbreviation for the domain. And this is the required variable. Means like whether it is a adverse events, concomitant medications, or some other classification, study ID and domain is or are required variables. Next one is unique subject ID. So in any study, unique subject ID is very important, and it helps to identify particular subject across the different studies. And if you see here, unique subject ID label is unique subject identifier. And if you see CDISC notes also, it identifies subject across all studies for a applications or submission involving a product. And how it will be created is by using the study ID, site ID, and subject ID. And when you make this from the raw data by using the one of the catex function you can use, and you can concatenate with the help of the dash or hyphen as a delimiter, and you can create unique subject ID. And this is also required variable. Next one is the subject ID, and the subject ID is the label is subject identifier for particular study, and this is the topic variable. As I said earlier, this might be interview question for the what are the topic variables. So every classification we have the topic variables, or every domain we have the topic variables, and each domain contains only one topic variable. That is important to know. And this is also required variable. And the comparison between the unique subject ID and subject ID is it it is presents within particular study, this particular study for a subject, and it might be changed between the studies, but unique subject ID is same from across all studies. Next one is the important variables, and there might be a clear understanding required on these variables like RFSTTDTC, RFENDTC, RFXSTDTC, and RFX ENDTC. So if you see, all these four variables are date and time variables are and the values we can see is ISO 8601 format. So what is the ISO 860 format means? There is a particular category of the data we can write, and that is YYY dash MM dash DD, and we can combine with a T and followed by HH and colon colon second SS. So there is a type of one ISO 860 format we can use to represent the data here. And coming to the RF STDTC and RF ENDTC, these like RF XSTDTC and RF XENDTC, these are the new variables implemented in the SDTM IG 3.2 version. And here, before going to the RF-STDTC and RF-ENDTC, I would like to talk on RF-XSTDTC and RF-XNDTC because these are the exposure or treatment start date variables. Like RF-XSTDTC values always with the treatment start date, and RF-XNDTC it will be end of the treatment date. Coming to the RF STDTC and RF ENDTC. So before introducing of this RF XSTDTC and RF XNDTC based on the study documents, we are based on the study documents, RF STDTC, RF ENDTC considered as a treatment start date and end date, but based on the therapeutic areas and the study documents, the treatment start date and end date are exclusively given to RF XSDTC and NDTC. So the question is here that what type of information will go to the RF STTTC and RF ENDTC. So based on the requirement, RF STTTC contains like the first date of the study treatment or informed consent date or sign date of a particular subject, or we can see the date and time of the screening of a particular subject. So this is also one of the important interview question to see the understanding of the between the these four variables. Coming to the another variable is RFIC DTC, date and time of informed consent. So this variable tells like if a subject is interested to participate in the clinical study, he is required to sign on the document. So on which date is signed, that date we can see on this particular variable value for that particular subject. And if you see here, this is also date and time variable. And another thing is here, if you see the type of the data means this date is character format. So in the SDTM or in the SAS understanding, the dates are different categories or different formats, and in the SDTM these dates we can see as a character type, but in the Adam level, which is the next level from the in the CDISC, that we can see as a numeric, because in the SDTM usually we don't do any calculations, but in the Adam level we may require to do some analysis. So to calculate that, date should be present in the analysis purpose. And SDTM variables are standard variables, and we should follow as per the SDTM IG if we want to submit the project or data in the SDTM format. And next one is the RF PENDTC. So this is the end of the subject participation in the study. So this is also one of the important and interview question, and RFP and DTC stand for the end of the participation of a trial for a particular subject. So the values of the date we can see the subject completed the study date, or if the subject is withdrawn from the day in the study, that date we can see, or we can see last follow-up record. To last follow-up we can see, or even we can see death date also. So this like participation end date might be based on the uh, based on the value we can take. We can take from these different days. We can take one of the date for particular subject. Death date. So during the study, if the subject dies due to some reason, so the date should be captured. So the label is date and time of the death, and it should be ISO 8601 format. And if particular subject death date is happened, so the death date and participation date should be same. And coming to the another variable, death flag. So the label is subject death flag. It is a character format, and the values we can see as a yes or missing. If particular subject death date is happened or death is happened, we can see the death date and adjacent row column in the death flag, or in the death flag column we can see the subject in like as a y value. Means y value means subject has been subject is died. Okay, next one is site ID. So study site identifier. So this is record level qualifier, and we can see the unique identifier for a study within a unique identifier for a site within a study. So this is also required variable. And if we see here, expected variables are RFICT DTC, PEN DTC, DTH DTC, DET HFL. Means this variable might be present in the data set, but values we may see as a missing values. That's why always when you start reading the demographics data set or domain, just start reading slowly and understand the variables, why this expected the values should can be expected, why value should not be expected. Just have a glance one, check the data, how it looks, then you will get a clear understanding. Next one is the investigator ID. So in any study, okay, in any study, investigator plays an important role, and even for the particular subject ID, a particular subject who is investigating particular subject, that information also we can capture with the name. Here investigator name, and if you see here, this is the permissible variable. Permissible variable means if study demands or if study wants this information to capture, we can capture this variable, or we can drop also if not required. SDTM IG 3.2 or SDTM IG tells that to follow these variables in the study, and based on the study collection we can keep that variables, or we can drop the variables. Next one is the birth date. So birth date, it is also permissible variable. Even the subject knows his birth date, but sometimes due to some confidentiality issues he may not share the information. So you can see subject might be participated in the study, but you can see the birth date might be missing. Next one is age. So age. So age. So age, it is a one of the numeric variable in the SDTM demographics domain. And this is also expected variable in the age category value. Next one is age units. And this is character variable, and usually if the subjects are participating years, the value we can see as a years, and this is also EXP. Next is sex. Sex of a subject. If the subjects are participating males and females, we can see as a F or M. These are the control terminology variable values as a sex. For the sex, F and M. The race. So race of a subject. The race of a subject change depending on the geographical area or location. The subject might be from the Asian, or he might be white, or he might be from American, Indian, or Alaska native, or black or African American, or multiple. So based on the control terminology, we can populate one of the value here. Next variable is ethnic. Ethnic, ethnicity of a particular subject. So this is permissible variable. Means this variable might be present in the demographics dataset wise or not. The values we can see here is Hispanic or Latino, or not Hispanic or Latino. So these are the control terminology variable values we can see here. Next one is here we have here is ARM code, ARM, actual ARM code, and actual ARM. So whoever participate in the clinical study, they has to go undergo treatment. So this is a sequence of treatment. The subject should be can be taken, that information is captured based on the plan and actual information. So ARM code, that label is planned ARM code, and the same type we have actual ARM code, and related to the plan we have the description of the planned ARM, then we have the description of the actual ARM also we have the CDISC notes here that the ARM code should not be 20 characters and does not have any special character restrictions. The maximum length of ARM code is longer than other short variables to accommodate the kind of values that are likely to be needed for crossover trials. Okay, and the ARM code values, it might be based on the study or treatment code. It might be like N, A, or combination of the character or some numeric, or it all depends on the study, what the study team wants to keep. And coming to the here ARM. So ARM means here it is a planned one. So what type of values we can see is like we can see like treatment, or if the subject is screen failure, we can see that information also in the ARM. Then coming to the actual ARM code. So the principles only here, the difference to actual ARM code and ARM code is ARM code is a planned activity, but actual ARM code is the when the subject is really taken after taking the medication, on which sequence order he has taken, that is the actual ARM code. Sometimes we may see the difference between the actual and the planned, but usually the planned and actual will be same. And you can see the values here for the particular subject who gave the treatment. After that he might be not assigned or not treated also, may we can see the values here. And actual arm means this is a long description or description of the actual arm. So actually from the actual arm description we can mention actual arm code, and these both are required variable. And if you see here arm code values also required variables. Coming to the country. So this is a important interview question. The format how we write for a particular subject is we can write is a ISO 3166 format. So what is this ISO 366 format is? For every country, there's a 3 letters alphabetical format we have. So we can use that format. For example, Australia, we can mention as a AUS. For the Canada, we can use CAN. And for the France, we can have FRA values. Then we have the DMDTC, and like this is a date and time variable, and the variable name is date and time collection, and it is also ISO 86 format, means when ISO 860 format. And another thing is we have the CDISC nodes here is date and time of the description of the data collection, and we have the last variable is DMDY, so study day of the collection of measured as integer days, and this is the permissible variable. So once you read the demographics domain or any other domain, first try to read the variable name. It is very hard to remember a variable names in your first chance, but when you start reading, definitely you will remember. At least you will at least get some idea, and get focus on the variable label also. It is very important, and always remember it is a very standard label name. Even there is a small change or small alphabetical change or any additional space also not acceptable. Variable label, it should be same as per the SDTM IG guidelines. And if you come across here, there is some important notes in the assumptions for the demographics model. Just try to read that. I try to explain in my class just now. So you try to read. So if you have any questions, please let me know. And also you can see one example in the SDTM IG they have provided for few subjects in a study. And you can see here these subjects, you see unique subject ID, and we have the subject ID here, and RFSTDT is the expected variable. So you can see some values also present or some values are missing also here, and you compare the date values between the RFST DTC, RFE and DTC, and you see RFST DTC and RFXST DTC same, and also you can see RFE and DTC and RFXE and DT is also similar, and you see here RFIC ICT DTC, so reference inform concerned date. So and you see here reference participation end of the particular subject, and you can see here site ID and investigator name. So these are the person Johnson is representing to this subject, ABC subject, and you can see the birth date is present and age is also present, and we can see the sex values. Always remember, we never mention full names like MALE. We never mention, we mention always M or F in the sex column. Then we have the race. We can see the different type of the values here as per the study or as per the subject provided information, and his ethnic is this one. So this is the end of the demographics domain. I provide coaching in the base, clinical, advanced. I take the interview session classes, and I will take one-to-one sessions, and I will provide special training classes for the writing a programs also. Thanks for watching this video.